Welcome to HumanityWins.net. Please read the important disclaimer on your screen. All of the content provided is for entertainment purposes only. It should not be taken as medical or legal advice. Please contact your doctor or lawyer if you require such advice. Thank you. The show starts right now. Hello, welcome to episode 215 from June the 19th of the year 2023. Today's a Monday, and today's episode is the incredible story of Tetris. As I shared when I uploaded the episode on Alan Turing and the Enigma machine and the story of Alan Turing, and who is considered the father of the modern computer, I shared that I was going to start doing a little bit more episodes about IT, about programming, about coding, sharing this passion I have for computers, for programming. That is something that I have been lucky, I think, to start when I was a kid. It's something that just fascinated me. And whatever computer or device I could get my hands on, it was just something for me incredible to be able to create a series of instructions and for a machine to follow your instructions. And yes, there are the basic ones. There is just a few lines of code which will do a repetitive task. But programs, games, right now with 3D printing and all these, ChatGPT, AI, will get so evolved, so amazingly incredible that, you know, it's still something that fascinates me. And yes, this has been my business. This has been how I been able to keep my family fed and provide for my families through IT. Even if I'm a mechanical engineer, and that's what I went to college for, most of my career has been related to IT and to developing programs, and then a business related to the internet and all that. So I want to share a video on the story of Tetris. There's a movie that just came out 2023. I believe it's by Apple developed the movie, I believe so, or Amazon, I cannot remember. But I already watched the movie. I suggested it's a good movie. It's interesting. It's fast paced. It's like action thriller type. It's dramatized. The story was not as dramatic as the movie will try to share, but you know, it's very common on this real life or real events, movies that from real events they create a movie. It's or a book. It's very common that they dramatize whatever happened and exaggerate it a little bit to make it a little bit more fast-paced, a little bit more interesting. What I find very interesting from the story of Tetris, first of all, it was developed in the Soviet Union in the 1980s, early 1980s. I also find very interesting, it was developed on a language that I'm very fond of. It was, yes, I started a little bit with COBOL, but it was very basic what I was able to do with COBOL. And months after, my parents bought me a machine, color computer from Radio Shack, that had BASIC, okay? And BASIC, yes, there are different flavors of BASIC. There's, you know, the original one, there is the Quick Basic, which is more evolved, more business type, and then Visual Basic, which is basically to create Windows application, and was the effort by Microsoft to kind of bring a language like BASIC, like that many programmers know. I will go on a limb saying most programmers have touched BASIC, okay? Even if they're assembler, C, Java, Python, whatever, you know, language or kind of role they have taken, we all have touched BASIC. And it's a very, very easy to learn, very logic-oriented language. And Tetris, the original Tetris, of course, not that like the one you're seeing in the screen, three-dimensional and with animations. Those are far more evolved. But the original one, the flat, you know, two-dimensional, not very graphic type, was developed with simple logic in BASIC. So let's watch a video together about the story of Tetris. This is based on the movie that just came out, which is called Tetris, by the way. And they share kind of where the movie was accurate and where the movie exaggerated, but I think it presents quite nicely what I want to share. That first of all, I do believe when programmers develop something, it's you know, it's the beautifulness of the human creativity, and it's a pity that the programmer that developed Tetris, he was in the Soviet Union, and these values, this intellectual property that he should have had by developing a game on his own time. I want to clarify, it was not on state time, it was not on his job. He developed this at home, at nights, on weekends. So it was a side project, and I think it's just plain wrong that, you know, the state will steal that property and try to profit from the individual. This is something, this kind of a side story to this episode.
that is beyond the issue of programming and games. It's how these leftist republics, socialist republics, communist republics, it's just the past. And I kind of share that because right now here in Mexico, we have a leftist, extreme leftist party led by the president. And it's like that. Everything is the state. You know, the individual doesn't count. It's if you develop something, give it to the state. The state will take back. And it's right now starting with this thing about trying to take away things from businesses and intellectual property and physical assets and all that, because everything is about the state or the wealth of the state. And no, it has been proven by the Soviet Union, has been proven by Cuba, it has been proven by Venezuela, it has been proven that this model is not really to benefit the state, because if it was to benefit everyone, I could agree. But it's never to benefit everyone, it's just to benefit a few. And socialism, that's why it's worse than capitalism and communism. They are worse than capitalism because they want to play with your basic emotions of being part of someone that, hey, we're going to help everyone. It doesn't matter if you're poor or rich, if you're educated or not. It doesn't matter because at the end, the state knows better and is going to help everyone. And it's not really true. It's not really true. So let's watch this video together. It's only like 4 minutes. And I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this very short Monday episode on the incredible story of Tetris.
One wild ride. Meet Hank Rogers, the owner of Bulletproof Software, who discovered Tetris at the 1988 Winter Consumer Electronics Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. After playing, he was immediately hooked and was put in contact with its exhibitor, Britain's Maxwell Communications. This is where Robert Maxwell comes in, the company's founder and chairman, who also happens to be the father of infamous child abuser Ghislaine Maxwell. So basically a family of upstanding citizens. You'll notice some of the characters, including Russian leader Mikhail Gorbachev, refer to him as a politician. That's because Robert Maxwell was a member of British Parliament from 1964 to 1970. Some of the more confusing aspects of the Tetris movie is who owned the rights to the game, what those rights entail, and how all this worked during the backdrop of the Cold War. The game was created by Alexei Pajitnov in 1984 when he was working at the Soviet Academy of Science in Moscow. During this time, with rare exceptions, intellectual property was owned by the state and not the individual, so the rights for the game were transferred to a state-run organization called Elektronorgtechnika, or ELORG for short. This was the organization responsible for managing computer software exports from the Soviet Union. In comes Robert Stein. Think of this guy like a video game leech. He'd travel all over the USSR looking for good games, purchase the rights from ELORG, and then resell those rights to distributors across the globe. Now, when you buy these rights, you can choose to purchase them for a specific platform, such as a computer, an arcade, or a console like the NES. Where things get hairy is the introduction of the Game Boy, which, under the wording of ELORG's contract with Mr. Stein, doesn't technically qualify as a PC, console, or arcade. It's in its own category called handheld, which we'll get into in a bit. Second, Mr. Stein greatly misinterpreted ELORG's contract, thinking that his right to distribute Tetris on, quote, different types of computers included home consoles. So ELORG gives a 10-year worldwide PC Tetris license to Robert Stein, who then sublicenses it to Mirrorsoft, run by Kevin and Robert Maxwell. Mirrorsoft then sublicenses that to Atari for US distribution and Hank Rogers for Japanese distribution. So you can already see how things are starting to get confusing. But when Hank goes to ELORG showing off a copy of a Japanese console version of Tetris, director Nikolai Belikov is perplexed. ELORG never gave anyone the Tetris rights to consoles, only PC and arcade. This goes back to Mr. Stein's misinterpretation of their contract, and later Stein will sign an amended agreement clarifying that consoles such as Famicom and NES are different from PCs. So in the late 1980s, when Hank was selling Tetris on Famicoms in Japan, they too were technically illegal copies. But there was a bigger problem. Initial sales of Tetris in Japan were weak at best, so Hank goes to president of Nintendo, Hiroshi Yamauchi, to see if they can be of any help. Hank and Hiroshi knew each other after Nintendo helped develop his Go video game, the same game we see him trying to hawk at the beginning of the movie. Because of their history, Hiroshi gives Tetris to a game designer by the name of Shigeru Miyamoto. Yes, the Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda. Shigeru loved the game so much, and Nintendo ends up releasing Tetris on the Famicom in 1988, where it quickly becomes the console's best-selling game of all time. Now here is where things get even more crazy. Hank is invited to meet Minoru Arakawa, the president of Nintendo America, Nevada and get a glimpse of their new Game Boy handheld console. At the time, Nintendo wasn't sure which game they should package with Game Boy, and it was actually Hank who suggested Tetris. Even the line from the movie where he says, if you include Mario, the Game Boy will be for little boys, but if you include Tetris, the game will be for everybody, is said to be almost word for word. Hank goes to Mr. Stein to obtain the worldwide handheld rights, but soon finds out that Stein doesn't have them, resulting in, and yes, this is true, Hank, Kevin Maxwell, and Mr. Stein descending upon Moscow all at the same time to sort this fiasco out. A fiasco which has millions at stake. Now, Hank did hire a translator and, against protocol, went to Elorg to ask for a meeting and only got one because Belikov was curious and having another bidder would only sweeten the pot. Unlike the movie.
Okay, so one other aspect of the story of Tetris is the complication of computer licensing, of software licensing, and how in this case it was sub-licensed among different parties. And the thing that it was not only for computers. Kind of the Soviet authorities dropped the ball on this one at the beginning because they didn't really make a difference. So that gentleman there with the glasses, I don't remember the name right now, the one that then ended up licensing to Microsoft and Atari and some others. Basically, he took advantage by saying, hey, I got the full license, worldwide license for everything, because there's no real clarification between computer, arcade, console, and then something that didn't exist at the time, which was handheld. Okay, these Game Boy type portable computers. Imagine right now we have cell phones, we have tablets, we have TVs. Imagine just how complicated software licensing can become. I mean, just because you sell the license for something for a computer, it doesn't mean that thing could be for console, for cell phones, for tablets, for TVs, for cars. Now it has gotten airplanes or something like that. So similar to movie rights. I mean, there's one thing, you can sell movie rights for a specific country, you can sell movie rights for a specific platform, but at the end, it kind of, it can get very complicated. I want to end just by sharing I meshed two images, and this is very interesting. I know probably your screen it's looking a little bit funny, but let me explain it. On the left part of your screen, the green thing is the original Russian Tetris, which didn't have any graphics. So the programmer had to use the characters available on his Soviet computer to be able to do the dynamics of the game. And on the right part is also part of kind of the original. I'm not sure if it's the totally original basic code. This is not the complete code. This is just a part. Okay, it was longer than this. But if we can, I want to concentrate. The purple numbers are code lines, which is something that BASIC used to have in the 1980s. Finally has disappeared, the concept of using lines to go back and forth in the code. That's not considered anymore a good practice. But if you go to the number 400, and you can see there's a comment there, which is also good practice to include comments on code. So later, if a programmer wants to, either you want to remember what you were intending with the code, or another programmer wants to understand the code, it's just very good practice considered to include commenting on codes. So on the 400 line, make full lines empty. This is basically when the line completes, when you have completed a full line in the game, the line disappears. And it's done in 5 lines of code, from 410 to 440. In 410, we have just a loop that goes on the 23 lines. That's the way I understand it. You can see on the left part, if you count them, is 23 lines of depth. So basically go and check every line to see if you have completed the 10 spaces. And it starts in line 420, x equals 1, that's setting a variable to 1, the variable x. And then it says, while the variable x is less or equal than 10, which is true because you started with 1, and the area x, y, which is basically the line, let's say in this case, y is 1 and x is 1, this spot is more than 0, which the way I understand it again is that it has something there, it has a square there. Then x equals x plus 1, so x goes from 1 to 2. And then we have a wn, which is a while end, and basically this is a cycle, okay? So it starts going through the 10 spaces and keeps adding 1. If the space is empty, it won't add 1. If the space has a square, it will add 1. So then says empty equals x more than 10. So it has to be, in this case, 11 or more. So it says if empty, so if empty is true, which means that you have the line completely full, then C equals 0 for X equals 1 to 10, go sub 900, which will, I think, is a subroutine in line 900 to clear the space, and it goes to the next line. So basically, if the line is full, clear it, okay, and kind of move everything downwards, which I think the subroutine and line 900 does. This is the beauty of programming, so simple. You will think something like that will take 10, 20, 50, 100 lines of code. No, believe me. I've seen games in the 1980s. I used to have a magazine called Rainbow, which was specifically for the color computer, which I had. Talking mid 80s, I was like 12 years old. And when we went to Texas, I would buy the magazines at bookstores. And they had a competition called first of all, they had one called the one line program. So basically it was creating something functional in one line of code. And then they had a two-liner because one line it was not enough. But they had games not like Tetris, but simple games. I remember one was like a car going to a road. It was 2 lines of code. Yes, I know it sounds amazing, but also in the 1980s, you might, if you are like 50 like me, 40 to 60 years old, you might remember the Atari 2600. That was in the early 1980s. And some of the programs, the basic ones, the real basic games, for example, Missile Command and some others, were only 8 kilobytes, okay? So imagine having the logic, the graphics, everything in 8 kilobytes. I'm talking 8,000 characters, okay? Well, not necessarily 8,000 characters. It's 1,024 times 8, which is like, I believe, 8196, something like that. Imagine having that. Imagine having that, okay? All the logic, all the graphic in only 8 kilobytes. Right now, most games you see on Xbox and PlayStations and that, we're talking gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of data, okay? 100, 200, 300 gigabytes. Of course, they're very detailed. They're like movies, okay? Yeah, I agree. But these older games, they're incredible in the sheer creativity of the programmer to be able to do so much with so little code, okay? For me, it's still amazing. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, this kind of new topic of bringing in IT, gaming, stories, just trying to keep it interesting. These are neutral episodes. There's nothing about the current war situation or, about law, the energy. No. I'm trying to mix it up, and also an opportunity for people interested in other subjects to join our channel. Because again, the most important thing is for new subscribers, and this one I'm going to ask you something. Please stay for the last 3 minutes of the show. If everything is okay, I shall see you back on Wednesday. Have a great Monday. Please enjoy it with family and friends, or alone, or however you want to enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching and for your attention. You honor me. If everything is okay, I shall see you back on Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you for making it to this part of the video. This is my favorite part. This is where I suggest to you that you discover yourself. You are not what you have been groomed to believe. You are this incredible being without limits that has eternal life, amazing strength, infinite wisdom, and a big, beautiful heart. All your limits are always self-imposed. Your best version in this reality is inside you. Your only mission on this life is to become a beacon of love and guidance. This version is ready to be discovered today. How do you discover yourself? The discovery process is a personal one. No one can do it for you. Dedicate 5 minutes a day to talk to yourself and the universe. Request to be connected and ask, who am I? Where do I come from? You will start getting signs, breadcrumbs, and signals. You will notice how your notions about those realities start disappearing. No more hierarchies, no more competition, no more complaining, no more depending on others. Discovering yourself equals to breaking your matrix. Your self-imposed limits will fall, and you will be ready to serve humanity and help break this spell and deception on us. But you must be patient to allow others to wake up at their time through their own free will. That will be really soon, you will see, and that will start a new world. As you work towards your best version, you will notice how all emotions don't serve you anymore. Hate, fear, rage, pride, loss, envy, violence, justice, true violence, judgment of others, and other emotions will disappear from your mind and heart. You will understand those emotions serve only the evildoers and are not you. Please try to be understanding of others that don't think or feel like you. Everyone has a process. No one is right or wrong. We're all just different. Don't be concerned about being right, ever. Don't allow pride preventing you from patching things up with family and friends. It is very important you enjoy this life with your loved ones. Put in the work to patch things up and leave it to others to decide. Please relax and enjoy life. When everyone breaks their own matrix, humanity through our community consciousness will break the final spell.
The new world will start and everything will gradually fall. Governments, hierarchies, and the medical and financial system will go from scarcity to abundance for all. Thank you very much for watching. Please share this episode. If you have any comments or suggestions, please use the comment section below. For private questions, conversations, and if you would like to appear on the show, please email me at hey@humanitywins.net. Please be sure to check out our friends from Waking the Future and their awaken-attire.com shop. They gave me my first opportunity to speak about this and I will be forever grateful. Link to their channel and shop on the show notes. Thank you again. Please don't forget to visit our website www.humanitywins.net. By giving me your time, you honor me. Have a very, very, very nice day.